The bed's not made. Don't say anything. Alright, guys, welcome back to the video. And today it is Aflac time talking about the Colts. Wow, what a shocker. Not talking about this team for another 10 games because I said I wouldn't talk about them. So, just an FYI. But let's talk about Anthony Richardson. So, guys, I was going to talk about the loss, address everything in the loss, this, that, and the other. But I really think there's one big step that we're seeing, and that is slowly improving Anthony Richardson. I think his accuracy obviously needs a little bit of work, but I really think that the big play is always there. His running ability, especially in that first drive, is still there, and his ability in the red zone has really gotten better. Drew Ogletree doesn't drop that pass. It's 10-7 early. You never know where that game goes from there. Does that maybe make the Lions put the foot on the gas pedal? Maybe they win by even more than they did? Or does it become a grudge match and the game's 24-21, Colts lose? Like, I'm not saying the Colts would have won with that, but you really never know what happens. It's any given Sunday. We had an incredible Sunday slate yesterday, and honestly, one of those only non-incredible games was the Lions-Colts because, again, it's a team who's great in the upper echelon of teams, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL, versus a team who's struggling to try to make a wild card. And this loss, although hurting a lot, comes with a loss from the Texans as well. So even though it would still take a lot to get that division lead, and Denver also won, which sucks, if Richardson continues to play the way he is, he can beat a New England next week. He can beat the Titans, Jaguars, Giants, and maybe even Denver. Now, that game, of course, is the one bright spot of like, not bright, really sore spot of like, I don't think they could do this. But if they get through the other games and, get on that one, what's going to happen? So, again, today's message to everybody freaking out about losing that game is, first of all, did you really think the Colts were going to win that game? And I mean, think it with your mind, because if you thought it with your heart, then I don't know what you're talking about. Again, I've been wrong before. We just saw my IU stuff, but I think thinking that a team as good as the Lions versus a team that is as bad as the Colts was going to be a thing is wild. And again, thinking about the playoffs still is kind of wild from me. I told you guys a couple weeks ago when AR came back that this is not a playoff team. And I said after the Jets win, this team's not a playoff team. And now after a loss, I'm saying they could be a playoff team? No. I'm going to contradict myself within a minute of each other. No. Again, I think that they can go ahead and beat New England. I think they'll take their bye week, and then versus Denver is probably a loss. And after that loss, they could lose a lot. But I do think they bounce back, beat Tennessee, beat New York, and somehow they lose to the Jags. So at this point, that is my rest of the season prediction. Of course, that will probably change week to week, and who knows what I'm thinking about that New England game here coming up at the beginning of December. So it's going to be a very, very interesting few weeks here, especially going into that Denver game. You get the bye week before it, so if you do beat New England and during that bye week Denver loses, that is a humongous matchup. And again, I'm feeling pretty confident if AR keeps steadily improving. And let's talk about his biggest improvement right before we end this video, because I feel like I've just rambled and said, okay, he's just complete, dude, of course he complete pass, all that. That's just normal stuff. What's not as normal for a guy who's in his sophomore year, for example, look at the sophomore slump with CJ Stroud lately. He's making mistakes, right? Running out of the back of the end zone is something Stroud did at the end of that game, which basically lost them the game. And I'm not trying to throw shade or anything at Houston or CJ Stroud. My point is, it's hard for any quarterback in the NFL to not make mistakes. He did not fumble. He did not throw an interception. So that is one of the biggest things to me. Richardson has had very, very few, if maybe not any, games where he doesn't at least fumble or at least throw a pick. So this was like super awesome to see that he didn't have a turnover. And I think that that's just a step in the right direction. Also, Shane Steichen's play calling has been terrible. You need to run the ball. So that's my takeaways. Turnovers not happening. Good. Of course, Taylor fumbled from what I saw. Again, I didn't get to watch the whole game. I was at the Patriots game yesterday, as you saw by my YouTube shorts. But I really think Richardson not turning the ball over is really what has changed his game. And I think if he continues to do that, there's not many teams that the Colts will lose to, especially with those being the remaining opponents. Have a good day, guys. Aflac timeout. I'm live right now, probably. Yeah. I'm live at 7. Go watch. Pacer Pelican.